Hey, it's Mike from ZERMELOmusic.com, and in this video, I want to show you how I process the lead synth in my track, Are You Mad?, which is in the Chris Lake Fisher style. Now the lead sounds like this.
Are you mad?
And in the last drop, I jumped the lead up an octave, and that sounds like this.
Are you mad?
And I also use the eerie synth here as a rise effect in the strip drop section right here, but I'm just going to play it halfway through so you can hear what it sounds like. Now, first things first, when I'm starting a new track and I need to finish it relatively quickly because of some deadline or something like that, the last thing that I want to do is program a sound from scratch. So most of the time, I'll just flick through presets and let the sounds that I hear tell me what kind of part I could write, right? Because different sounds lend themselves better to different styles of melody. So a pluck sound sounds really good when you have a more staccato style melody that's bouncing around in pitch, and a pad sounds much better when it's playing a sustained chord. And so I let the patch determine what kind of part I write, and that was the case here. And so I stumbled on this sound, and the part came to me very quickly. Now, it doesn't always happen this way. Usually I'll write about 10 different parts before deciding on my favorite, but there was something really eerie and cool about the sound, and eerie and cool about the part that I wrote alongside it. So let me break down the part that I wrote quickly. We'll look at the patch, and then we'll dive into the post-processing. So this track is in E minor, so let me play that really quick. And the cool part for me in this melody is when I play the B flat here. Now, B flat is outside the key of E minor, and more than that, it's actually the tritone above E, or the diminished fifth up from E. So let me play that really quick here. I'm going to play E, and then I'm going to play the B flat, and you're going to hear this dissonance. So as you could hear, there's a really strong dissonance between these two notes, and that adds a ton of tension to the melody. And then I resolve that tension at the end of the phrase right here when I play the B. Now the B is a perfect fifth above E. It's also a chord tone of E minor. So when I move from the B flat to the B, I move from a strong dissonance, which is that tritone interval, to a strong consonance, which is a perfect fifth. So I move from strong tension to strong resolution. Now I might be overselling this a little bit, but I thought that this part was pretty cool and I was happy with it. But the principle remains, you want to try to build some tension and release into your melodies. And as far as the patch goes, it's really a simple sound. You can see right here we have a sine wave as the waveform. There's no filters turned on. We're getting a little bit of harmonic content here from this ring modulation. And then I think the secret sauce is really coming from Massive's native reverb here. So let me take the reverb and the ring mod off. So this is the sound right here. Kind of a plucky thing because of this envelope here, the amplitude envelope. Then if we turn the ring mod on, we'll get a little harmonic content. We're getting a little vibrato as well, just because the macro here is turned up a little bit. And then if we turn the reverb on, we've got the sound. So super simple sound, but super cool. Now when it comes to processing the lead, let's check out the before and after. Turn all these plugins off. Here we go. And after. So not an enormous difference, but you could hear there's really two things that I was trying to achieve with the processing, and that was to make the sound wider and to make it grittier. First, we have the little micro shift and the tau chorus, and they are helping us make the sound a little bit wider, and the chorus is helping us add a little bit of stereo movement into the sound so the width isn't just totally static. So A being these two together, let's see what that sounds like. And next up we have Pro Q here, and you can see that it is removing some of the mud and filtering out some of the lows on the sides and just giving a little bit of a presence bump. You could probably imagine what that sounds like, so we'll keep on moving on here. And then a limiter, just putting a ceiling on the sound. Now next up we have Valhalla Wooden Room. And what this is going to do is give the sound a little bit more dimension. It's going to push the sound from the front of the mix a little bit, and it's going to darken the sound a little bit because of the nature of a wood room. Let's check this out before and after. It's going to be pretty subtle. Now, as you probably heard, a wooden room is going to really bring out the low mids, and so we're taming that a little bit again here with the Wave C1 Comp SC. As you can see, I'm just compressing 450 hertz right there. And then here with Pro Q, doing a little bit more work on the mud of the mix. Also, we're scooping out the mid-range in the center channel to make more room for the vocals, and at the same time, that's going to make the sound even wider. So let's listen to these EQ moves here. So before and after. So you can hear it widening, you could hear the low mids be controlled a lot more. And finally, we have a compression section here with the Kramer tape, the compressor from Ableton, and Isotope Ozone's multi-band compressor. Now, the Kramer tape is doing compression, but it's really just adding grit to the sound. This is definitely one of my top 5 plugins here. Let's A/B the Kramer before and after as well. And then Ableton's compressor is just clipping the peaks just a little bit. And then here in Isotope's multiband compressor, we're just compressing the mid-range on the sides just to bring that forward a little bit more and really kind of solidify the width. And then after that, we just have a bunch of automation going on. We have a couple gain automations for different points in the song. This one's gaining things down. This is gaining things up. We have some high pass, low pass automation running in the breaks. And then we also have some stereo automation, some width automation in the breaks. And finally, when it comes to the processing of the sound, we have a limiter, just putting a ceiling on the sound, also raising the volume just a little bit. Then after the limiter, we have a bunch of side chains. We are side chaining it to the liftoff synth, which we'll check out in the next video. We have a side chain to the vocal group, and then also the LFO tool here is ducking the volume on every offbeat just to create a little bit more room for the open hat. Now, if all this processing seems a little bit haphazard, that's because it definitely was. The mixing process in general can be pretty systematic, but that doesn't mean that every single sound is going to behave the way that you want it to. Now, this sound was a case of hearing things and tweaking things as I went, and sometimes that's just the way it is. All right, going over the final things here. At the beginning of the video, I showed you that I just jumped the synth up an octave, and that's it. So here you can see this is where the synth normally lives, and then I just jumped it up an octave on the last drop just to bring some extra energy. I didn't even change the processing. It sounds totally fine, but let me go ahead and just play the transition coming out of the higher energy down into the lower octave, lower energy here. And at the beginning of the video, I also mentioned how during the strip drop, I kind of created an effect out of this sound. And as you can see, this is all the automation. And so let me just kind of walk through it. The first one is just increasing the release over time. So it kind of creates this reverb effect. So it just gets longer and longer and just kind of meshes into this one big kind of sound. And then I also automated the ring mod on the back half of the strip drop here just to start introducing more harmonics. And I want to actually play the shift from harmonics with the ring mod here in the drop to going to no harmonics. So it's just a clean sine tone with some reverb in the strip drop, just to hear the energy change. Let's play that. So that automation just simply comes from automating down the ring modulation. Then here we're gaining up over time just to make the effect more intense. And here we are then gaining down at the very end just so we can transition cleanly into the next section here. Here we're actually doing a low pass to kind of bring down that harmonic content that gets introduced with the ring modulation. But really what happens here is you can still feel the harmonics from the ring modulation. This just seems to make the sound go further away. So it's moving away from the front of the mix, and the low pass filter really helps out with that, because the further away a sound is from you, the less high information is going to get to your ears, because it's going to decay before it gets to your ears. And then here we just have a high pass filter cutting the lows out over time, just thinning the sound out a little bit, because we are working towards a break section where the lows get cut out. And then finally we just have some width automation, and we're just automating down the width over time, because again, if a sound is moving further away from you, it's going to sound more and more mono, because the sound coming from that sound is going to reach both of your ears at exactly the same time. And so that's why it has that kind of mono appearance. So let's go ahead and just check out this whole section just so you can hear the changes over time. And so that's it. That is the lead for my track Are You Mad in the Chris Lake Fisher style. Now I've made a little sample pack that you can download for free. The link is in the description. So go download those samples, go have fun with some synths, build them from scratch, try some presets, get crazy with some processing and some automation, but most importantly, have fun. And I will see you in the next video.